Welcome to the Reese Report. I'm the mouth of the North, Andrew Reese, and I am back for my series of 7 burning questions before the Raptors season opens up on Wednesday. I am now joined by JD, who is of Raptors HQ, a great writer, writes for the 905, follows the 905, does a lot of great work, and I'm very happy to be talking to him for the second time as we did a show with him
Yep.
after the crazy off season. And
Mhm.
you see, I have a lot of questions. I get nervous before the season. I need to ask my
Mhm.
Raptors family, my friends, people that I know that are knowledgeable about the game to help me. And I'm excited about the season, but I need answers to these questions before I go to game one this year. So, JD, how are you doing? What are you up to for this season? What projects? What's up with you?
Yeah. Well, first, I'm doing well, and thanks for the intro. Actually writing some Raptors related pieces right now. We just finished our player previews. I did a preview of your favorite Raptor player, so so there's
You know
that.
who that is.
Yep, we all know who that is. I'm also writing like a little bit of like a season guide for the Raptors. Kind of like what to look forward to over the course of the season, and then after that, I'm gonna shift to the 905 because the 905 is gonna start in like early November.
Yeah, should be interesting to see who ends up there. We
Yep.
saw uh I'm saying is gonna say his name wrong. Gaye is going down.
I think it's
Um
Gee, like something like
Gee,
that. Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna say it wrong until I hear it said right.
Yeah.
And also Justice Winslow, and we lost Jeff Doughton to the 76ers, which was a foregone conclusion,
Hmm.
especially after seeing all the minutes Flynn got in the preseason. That was gonna happen. So
Yep.
for all those people with the free Doughton, he's gone. He's on the 76ers. He probably won't play there either, but hey,
Well, for
that's where
for
he
now, who
is.
knows, right? Who
Yeah.
knows?
Yes.
Like
We'll
Messiah
we'll
said, he's
see.
part of the future, right? So like the future is really not set in stone. So who knows?
Yes, we'll get into Masai and his
Mhm.
his Banton and Doughton stuff and some of the things he says. We'll get into that a little bit as we go along the
Mhm.
show. So basically, JD, I have 7 questions that are on my
Okay.
mind that need answers, and I will start with question number one, which is Grady Dick, who we just talked about, is my absolute favorite player on the
Mhm.
Raptors right now. He's certainly the most popular player right now. I
Mhm.
I love the fact that we drafted him. I was begging the team to draft him from January. He dropped to us. We got him. Summer league, he was okay. He worked on other parts of his game with lesser talent. Wasn't extremely sharp from the three, but in the preseason, his game has improved even more. He's been active on defense, running around very well off of picks, creating space. And in that last game, it all came together. 4 or 5 from three, 3 steals, three rebounds, 12 points. He could have had 30. I mean, he was open on every play, but the
Yep.
Raptors are not used to seeing wide open 3 point shooters running around because we're an ISO team all these years. So it'll take some time to get used to that and Darko's offense. But my question to you for Grady is, what kind of impact will he have this season on the team?
Okay. So like first when it comes to Grady, like when we were working on the draft, I never had Grady like dropping to our like where we're picking. Like I thought it
Yeah.
was too to be like to fall at our range. So I never really like did a lot of investigation like what like like his strengths and weaknesses, right? I can go by like what we've seen so far based on the summer league and like these preseason games. And basically looking at the roster as well, right? In
Yes.
terms of impact, like I'm probably one of those people that's thinking that he's probably gonna spend some time like just getting some spare minutes, like the Malachi minutes, the Banton minutes, right? And we're probably gonna see him like play with the 905 like on off days. Because he's gonna need some reps where like he's gonna be like an every down target like on the offense, right? He's gonna need that. He needs to catch up with the game speed because it feels like he's pressing too much when he doesn't really have to. But I think he's one of those players that as he gets more minutes under his belt, he's gonna get better and better. And I won't be surprised if he's part of the rotation by mid to late part of the season.
Yeah, I of course, as you know, I'm a big fan. I think his skill set is much needed. The 3-point shooting is much needed. He's a young player. He moves very, very well. But if you look at the Raptors roster, and this is shocking considering
Mhm.
how bad the team was last year,
Yep.
it's pretty bloated right now. Otto's back. You have Jalen McDaniels.
Mhm.
Flynn looks like he's going to get a shot. You have Boucher. You have Precious. It's a Gary Trent's coming off the bench, which I didn't expect. So there may
Mhm.
not be the minutes that are necessary for him to develop his game. So I
For
don't
now, yeah.
disagree with you, but that is a for now. Exactly my point.
Yeah.
I can't see how Darko doesn't find minutes for this kid. He shows way too much to be toiling in the 905. However,
Mhm.
we saw this with Koloko last year when we all
Yep.
thought he should be playing, and he was there for what, 50 games? So I'm not going to say you're wrong because this organization does it a little different with young players. So I think
Mhm.
it'd be a shame, but at the same time, I would rather him play than not play, because you don't really want to mess with this guy early. So
Yep.
I hear where you're coming from.
Mhm.
Now we go to the enigma, as I like to call him, Scott Barnes. Uh, I know there's a lot of he's a very polarizing player to a lot of fans out there. In my humble opinion, he plateaued last year.
He
He
did.
got
Yep.
worse. He got worse in some areas. He stayed the same in some areas, and he got slightly better in some areas. But he didn't have the jump and the impact that we might have expected outside of a few fourth quarters here and there. He wasn't consistent last year. I think that's a fair assessment of him.
Yep.
He's been
It
great
is.
in the preseason. He gained weight. Looks like a power forward out there, to be honest with you.
Mhm.
But he's shot 50% from three in the preseason. I don't like to overrate preseason. I'm just pointing out what he's done. He's looked great.
Mhm.
My question to you is this: will he make this significant leap that we expected last year, this year? And when I say that, I mean impactful every game or most games towards winning. Um, um, a guy who um, makes a jump that is makes him the number two option, and
Mhm.
uh, maybe towards going to an all-star, but not there yet.
Mhm. Okay, so let me think about this. So like we know Barnes, right? Like he can do like 15, 7, and 5, like with the inconsistent role. Actually, sometimes like with the wrong role, right? And the minutes, right?
Yeah.
So there's that, right? And then there's the Fred Van Vliet void, right? Fred's got the lion's share of minutes and shots, possessions, right? Um, I think like he's gonna get more reps, like opportunities to be like either the second option or the 1B, right? On
Yeah.
on the offense, right? And
Mhm.
then you have a new coach, right? That's probably gonna make sure that he's part of the offense, unlike the one that
Yes.
just left, right?
Correct.
And they're saying that apparently he's in better shape, conditioning wise,
Yep.
right? Because like watching some of his games last season, like he looks like gas sometimes on some of his misses, right?
Yes.
So, like, let me ask you this, right? Like, if you're a Scotty, right? Like, you're feeling good because you have like a new coach that will empower you, right? And like that you're gonna be part of and be trusted to make winning plays, right? You'll be touching the leather a lot, right? For people that doesn't have the Steph Curry feel, right? It's important to touch the ball like often to get to maintain rhythm, right?
Yes.
So like I'm not saying that he wasn't giving full effort last season,
Mhm.
but anyone that's miscast and like not touching the ball, like it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to like play harder, right? Like
Yes.
sometimes like if you're playing at LA Fitness, right? If you're the fifth guy there and like you're not getting the ball, like it's really hard to push yourself to play harder, right?
Yes.
Like with the situation that Scott is gonna be in this coming season, like this kid's gonna play with more pep in his step, right? And it's gonna be easier for him to shift gears because like his mindset, he's locked in from from the tip, right?
Yeah.
And with better conditioning, I don't know, like maybe he can even unlock like another gear or two to his game, right? Like that said, he's really not a natural scorer, but like I'm projecting, like probably in the neighborhood of like a 28-8, right? Because that's kind of like close enough to what what he was doing before, and like he doesn't even know what he's doing like the past two seasons,
Yeah,
right?
that's right. Yeah. If it's
So like he,
28-8,
Mhm,
that's all-star
mhm.
possibility.
Depending on where we land,
Sure.
like by the All-Star weekend or like by the time that they do the voting, right? Because standings
Mhm.
matter, right? And there's a
Yes.
lot of forwards out there as well. Like I
Yes.
don't know if they will qualify him as a guard. I'm not sure. Probably not, right?
Probably not. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Um, yeah, 28-8 would be a significant jump. I think Darko is going to unlock him this year. You can just see he's more comfortable on the floor. The way the ball's moving, it fits his style.
Mhm.
He's moving without the
Yep.
basketball a lot more. He's not standing still because it's not an ISO offense anymore. I think that Darko's really going to help his game, and he's shown some maturity
Mhm.
so far to in the preseason. I think his sprained foot is minor. For those who are curious, he
Yeah,
sprained his
everybody's
foot.
downplaying it. Everybody's
Yeah,
downplaying it. So like I'm not even concerned.
yeah. I think he just left the court. He's like, look, I'm up. We're up 40. There's no point in me pushing it. So,
Mhm.
so he should be fine. He's a big boy, and if he can get downhill, I think he's going to be a very tough man to stop. I even think there could be some mismatches at small forward and power forward in that situation. I would prefer him being inside, even though he's shooting 50% from three early on in the preseason. I still think it's too
Mhm.
slow of a release, and I'd rather him be inside playing his game. But we'll see how Darko works that out. Everyone's moving everywhere in this offense, so that's a
Yep,
good thing.
I agree.
Oh, JD, listen, I'm gonna I've had a difficult time being nice about this. So what I'm trying to what word can I use? Uh, Let me just say that the bench was brutal last year. Maybe that's the best word I can use.
It's an
Pretty,
understatement.
pretty bad beyond words. And
Mhm.
for those who have listened to me, I've bemoaned this all last year, despite the fact that people were trying to defend the bench. Listen, Nick Nurse did a lot wrong, but not playing the bench was not one of those things. The bench was not good. And
Yep.
when the bench was out there, we were blowing 14-point leads in 2 minutes. So listen,
Mhm.
this year is a different story, and good on Darko. He got Dennis, his boy from his OKC days. We got Jalen. Grady's been drafted, and the team is deeper. There
Mhm.
is no way, JD, this bench can be worse than it was last year, which was 29th in the league last year. How good
Mhm.
will they be this year? Where do you think they'll rank?
Okay, so let me ask you. Like, I'm gonna name names, right? And tell me whether they're gonna be like a bench rotation player. Just a yes or no, right? Garrett
Okay.
Trent Jr.,
Yes.
Chris Boucher,
I'm a no on him, but I think he'll end up playing some minutes.
hmm Precious,
Yes, he'll be a part of the rotation, at least early.
okay, Jaden. Sorry, not
Jaden's going to
Jaden.
be
Jalen McDaniels.
Jalen's going to be in the rotation. Yeah.
Okay, Malachi.
For me, it's a no, but
hmm
judging by the preseason and the fact that we have a hole at backup point guard, he'll probably see some minutes.
hmm How about Otto?
So Otto is going to play, but I don't think he's going to get the minutes that people think he's going to get, and he's not going to play back to backs. And
hmm
this is where Grady really gets squeezed. So I
Yeah,
think he's gonna play because of his veteran experience. He's gonna play. Yeah.
yeah, and plus showcase minutes, right? Because
Right.
you're looking to see whether you can get something out of this guy. So based on
Yeah.
that, right? Like I was thinking about this, like I'm thinking of like a Gary, Boucher, Precious, Jalen, and maybe like a Malachi or Otto, like initially to start the season, right?
Mhm.
Like that can change later on. But like you said, like we're what 29th like last year, right?
Yeah.
And we're also kind of like one of the lowest when it comes to the minutes, right?
Yes.
Um, I think with the new system and with the new coach that we have right now, like this new coach, like he's gonna make these guys as part of the offense, right? Like as a threat, right? Unlike before, like whenever you see like guys like Coloco or Tad or these guys, like they're just there so that they have five people on the floor, right?
Yeah,
Because legally you can't have less than five, right?
right.
So I would expect some jump in terms of numbers from Gary, right? And I would expect some more contribution coming from Jalen and all of these guys, right?
Yes.
Am I expecting a big jump? No, right? Like you said, we're 29th. I think we were scoring under 30 points per game, like as a
Correct.
bench, right?
Yeah.
But I can see us at least hitting like 35 points per game. And that's probably going
Yeah.
to be good enough for like around the 16 to 20 range,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I think we're going to be mid.
Yeah.
But Darko's not kidding. He wants to play 10 guys. So by
Mhm.
default, it can't be any worse.
Yeah. We're gonna get more production, but like we'll see. But I'm optimistic.
Yeah, I think all of our shooters are on the bench too, and that
Yep.
has to be a positive. Like we didn't have anything there last year, and now you've got three
Hmm.
guys who can really shoot the ball, and that's not
Yep.
including Grady, who wasn't even mentioned in your questions. So
Hmm.
we'll see. It's a squeeze now. There are actual battles for positions, which is can only be a positive. So
Hmm. I would
we'll
actually be interested to see our bench points, like how we're doing, like post All-Star break, because, or actually no, post trade deadline, because I think there's going to be some consolidation trades that could happen because we need to
Mhm.
free up some minutes for some of the guys.
Absolutely, yeah, and I will get to that. I will be asking you about that in a little bit.
Hmm.
So now I'm gonna make you the coach, JD. It's
Okay.
not Darko, it's Jay Darko. Okay. Um, you want to win games. Who's your starting lineup and who is your closing lineup when you want to win the game?
Okay. So for starters, it's easy. Like whoever we've seen so far, right? So you have Dennis, OG, Scotty, Pascal, and Yak. That's gonna be our starting unit.
Yep.
Um, I would close with that unit if we're facing like a bruising big, like an Embiid, JV, like those kind of guys.
Go Bear opening
Yeah.
night.
Yep. So I would expect them to close with that lineup. But like I have a couple of scenarios here, right? If we're trailing and we need to put up points on the board, I would actually sit Yak and I would put Gary in there. But if we're closing and we're trying to protect the lead, I would actually sit Yak and I would put Jalen McDaniels there.
Would you have Scott at center in that scenario?
Well, like the way they operate, like sometimes Scotty looks like he's the center, sometimes OG looks like he's the center. Actually, like this preseason, like sometimes Pascal looks like he's the center.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So it's kind
because
of
they're
like
all over
Vision
the
6 9,
place.
right?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
they're all over the place on the floor. There's no
Yep.
that's what I love. What I've seen is there's no standing still. There's no,
Yep.
it's like positionless basketball, kind of is. Unless Pirtle's
Yep.
out there, then you know
Hmm.
who's the center. But when he's not out there, it's anyone plays anywhere.
Yeah, and
Out,
and they're
out,
not
so
yeah, and they're not chasing guys around the perimeter like they're running around like with like a headless chicken or something, right?
yes.
Not gonna
Yes,
be
the
like that.
gambling defense is gone.
Hmm.
Thank goodness.
Yep.
Regular defense is back. Thank God. Thank
Hmm.
God. Right. And that will lead to less gassing in the fourth quarter where we blew a lot of our games last year.
Yep.
So
I agree.
I am looking forward to that.
Hmm.
Believe me, last year was painful to watch this team.
Really painful.
In yes, in so many ways. So now I'm going to ask you to put your GM hat on. We have three
Okay.
players. We have three players, but I'm going to add a fourth. I didn't do this with the other guests, but I just
Hmm.
realized that there's going to be a fourth. Four
Okay.
guys with 1 year deals.
Hmm.
Malachi is also on a 1 year deal, but I'm not counting him.
We're
Um,
not talking about Malachi here.
we're not talking about Malachi here, but I think
Hmm.
four guys that are going to be trade bait by the deadline.
Hmm.
So Pascal, Gary Trent, OG, and Otto. Which of those four
Hmm.
do you believe will be gone after the trade deadline and which are staying?
So I guess full disclosure, like cap space, like doing that math, right? Like that's kind of like the weakest point of my like Raptors coverage, right?
Yes.
Um, so like that being said, I think looking at the salary that we have for next year, we have enough to re-sign or extend Pascal and OG, right? Regardless of how much money they're making.
Mhm.
The person that's probably gonna get squeezed out is Gary, because like I like Grady and I see him as the future, right? Shooting guard or
Right.
like shooting guard slash small forward, like our
Yes.
future sniper, right? So I would want like this front office, they're not gonna make the same mistake that they did last year,
Are
where
you sure? Are you sure?
I think so. I'm hoping, right?
Okay. I'm not sure, but yes, I hear you.
Where they would sacrifice development just so that they finish better in the standings, right? They're not gonna
Yes.
try to win every game, right? So like that being said, right? I think the second half of the season is gonna be a lot about Grady and see where his game would go, right? And like you can't do that if you're keeping Gary,
Yeah,
right?
I think,
So,
yeah, especially with what Gary said just a
mhm.
few days ago about how he really wants to start and get paid.
Yeah.
That's a warning sign right there.
Hmm. Yeah, so like I'm pretty sure he's gonna be gone. Otto, like he's gonna be gone as well, regardless if we can even get like a second round pick for him, or maybe just waive him at like at the deadline so he can catch on with the other teams that's still competing, right?
Yeah, I think Otto, like a lot of our peers, really think Otto's a really important bench piece to this team and will really help the team with the experience. And I don't disagree, but like he's going to be a piece that some teams will be interested in, especially if it's not going well for us. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's possible that he's moved. It's also possible that he's hurt. So
Yeah, and like he's
we won't
just
know.
not like perpetually he's just not in condition. He
Yes.
looks like even last year he looks like 30 going on 40.
Yeah, he does. He certainly does. I don't see him playing the major role that most people do. I think he's going to be
Mm-hmm.
limited minutes wise. And there's such a logjam right now of young players there. I'm more favored playing Jalen McDaniels and Grady later on in the season, Jalen early in the
Mm-hmm.
season,
I agree.
over an Otto. It just doesn't make sense to play Otto over Grady. I just I don't think Otto's going to be this major impactful player after missing a year of basketball with a toe injury. So, and if he's going to not play back to backs and he's not going to be a major part of the rotation, why have him here? I just don't,
Yeah,
it
I
just doesn't
agree.
make sense. So we'll
Mm-hmm.
see on that, but a lot of people disagree with the Otto point. So
Mm-hmm.
we shall see. Uh I love this question. JD, will we miss Fred VanVleet?
Okay, I guess being fair in a way, yes. I mean, there will be nights where we just can't hit anything from the perimeter, right? Like looking at the roster, especially if Gary's the only shooter that would play, right? If Grady's not playing, I mean, if he's gonna have an off night, like it's gonna be. I don't know. It's gonna be tough for us, right? And you're gonna wish that you would have someone, or that you had someone where like he's got the balls, like the confidence to keep shooting from the perimeter, even though you're going 1 for 5 or 1 for 6, right?
Yes.
Like a lot of our guys like Pascal, OG, like Scotty, right? Like once they start seeing the ball clank on the rim, they lose confidence, they hesitate, right? Like if anything, like Fred was keeping the defense honest. Somebody has to do it, unfortunately. That part, yes, we're gonna miss him, but I think Dennis is like a decent replacement level player. And like I think there's gonna be a point next year or like later this season where we're gonna forget about Fred.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the fit is better. It's not that Dennis is
Mm-hmm.
a better player, it's that he's a better fit for this offense. And look no further than the 11 assists he had against Washington, where he got everyone involved and
Yeah.
everyone was making threes. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I actually think from a 3 point perspective, we can't get any worse than we were last year as well. I think we were 27th in the league. The more open we are, the more likely we are to make the shot. And with everyone moving in this offense and the ball moving
Mm-hmm.
better, I think it's going to set up for more wide open looks. So I think from that respect, we won't miss Fred. But we'll see. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think this is going to be an ISO offense at all. I mean, Darko and Masai could not have made it any clearer that there'll be no selfishness this year. So if they're telling the truth and Masai's got a
Mhm.
quick trigger finger, which we know he doesn't, then
Yep.
players will get in line. But we
Mhm.
shall see. There's a lot of questions regarding Masai and what he's going to do with this roster because nobody got
Mhm.
re-signed. So
Yep.
we shall see. And
We
that
shall
leads me
see.
to my last question. We're going to do probably a bonus one, but
Okay.
this is probably the toughest question of all. Considering the Raptors this year, the movement, the players, the contract situation, the management, the new coach, what will their record be and what seed will they finish?
Okay, record. So like people are probably gonna hate me for this or the Raptors fans, but I'm actually leaning towards the 40 to 42 range where we're probably gonna be the ninth or tenth seed, like play in, and we're probably gonna like play like like losing the play ins as well. Uh
So same as last year.
Same as last year, but like with better vibes.
Oh
Right?
God. Well,
And
I don't know about
and
that, but yes.
and the reason why I'm going with that is like I said earlier, like I think the mandate is to prioritize development rather than like I don't think the mandate is hey, let's max out how far this team can go with Siakam as the centerpiece, right? I
Mm,
don't think we're gonna go that route this year. I mean, like we don't even want to give this guys an extension, so why would we
correct.
why would we do that,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
OG is gonna get injured. That's routine, right? He's gonna miss like his like 10, 15 games, right?
Yep.
Uh Scotty Barnes, unfortunately, he gets a lot of knickknacks all the time, right? He's gonna miss some games as well, right? And then when he misses games, like there's a little bit of a ramp up in terms of conditioning. So there's gonna be some instability when it comes to that. Precious and Grady, they would play more like later on in the season because that's development right there, and they will make mistakes. They sometimes it will cost the team, right? And
Mm,
we don't have the firepower that like that can accommodate like us screwing up a like a 14-point lead, right? Like what's happened last year, right? We don't
yes.
have that. And then like to top it off, like you have a rookie coach that most likely will make mistakes too, right? He's also a developmental guy, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm leaning towards the 40 42 range, right? Like I can see us like getting to 44, but like I'm just keeping it keeping it tempered a little bit.
Yeah, I got us at 44 wins. I don't think three more wins is unreasonable.
Mm-hmm.
I think the team will be better this year by default. And I don't mean that as an insult. I just mean that the team is better. I
Mm-hmm.
can't see how it's not better than it was last year. And considering we won 41 games last year with how disjointed and how messed up the offense was, the coach, the fighting of the players, the inconsistencies, not getting Yak up until midseason. It was
Yep.
just a very messed up season. And I think this year,
Mm-hmm.
at least everyone goes out with a clear head and a new coach and excitement and,
Mm-hmm.
maybe less pressure than we might think. And therefore, it's more free basketball. And maybe it leads to three more wins for them. I think they can
Mm-hmm.
be anywhere from 6 to 8. I have them at 6 because I don't think the East is as strong as people think. I think that there's two teams at the top and the rest are very questionable and have a lot of questions, just like us. So I think
Mm-hmm.
six is a high water mark, maybe 5, but I think 6 is the highest they'll go down to about 8. I think that they'll get out of the play in, but it just depends on the teams below them, the
Yep.
Miamis of the world and the Atlantas and the Knicks and all these the Brooklyn. I don't think Brooklyn is going to be ahead of them this year, but we'll see. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the determining factor there, how the other teams play. So
Mm-hmm.
we shall see. Since we have about 8 minutes, I'm going to ask you about Darko.
Okay.
What are your thoughts of Darko since he's come here?
Well, initially I'm a little bit I guess I don't want to say pessimistic. I was not sure about the hire. Like I didn't know him that much, right? There's very little. Like I'm the type of person that okay, I want to see this guy coach, right? Like for example, like when we hired Nick Nurse, I went through all of his like Rio Grande Valley games, right? Coaching, right? Uh at least I have like a little bit of a baseline to kind of like figure out, okay, well, like what can this guy do, right? With Darko, there's very little, right? It's hard to assess. And then you saw the FIBA World Cup, like who's this guy? Like the guy coaching Canada,
Jordy,
right?
Jordy.
Jordy, right? He looks like the one that got away, right?
Yeah, yeah. He was
Right.
good.
But at least this preseason, right? Like I'm kind of like being converted. I'm like, okay, like I think I see what this guy's doing. I think we have something in here, right?
Yeah,
I'm leaning towards a little bit more optimistic. I'm just not sure how he's using Siakam right now, right? I'm not sure if people are keeping a closer look, right? But Siakam's shot diet has drastically changed this preseason, right? Even
yep,
though like I know it's a small sample base, but I think he's only made one mid-range attempt like in four
yep,
games,
yep.
right? And like last season he's all midi, right?
Yes.
So I don't know, like can he keep this guy happy? Because like Siakam's happiness is probably gonna dictate like our season as well.
Yeah, I think that it's by design, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
I think Masai's presser made it very clear that number
Yeah.
one, they don't want to sign him to the max. And number two, the selfishness comment that was said after his name was mentioned in the presser told me that they want to lessen his role. They don't want as much ISO play from him.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, by default, they're going to lessen his impact. Doesn't mean
Yeah.
he won't be a good player, but he won't be the player that he was under Nick Nurse. And therefore, they can justify paying him less. That is a slippery slope, but I think it was made
Mm-hmm.
pretty clear during those pressers. Same goes for OG. OG wants a bigger role. He doesn't want to be a 3-and-D guy. And if you watch the preseason, he looks lost in this offense.
I don't see it happening, man. Like I'm sorry. Like I like OG, but like he is what he is, like offensively.
Yep. He wants more than he thinks that he is. The same goes for Dylan Brooks, who
I
you
don't
know,
blame them for that. I don't blame them for that.
yes,
They're like it's
yeah,
business, right?
yeah, they want to be more. I mean, Gary Trent said the same thing. He doesn't want to be a backup. He wants to start and show what he can do. So I get it.
Mhm.
But OG's been around a long time, and he just doesn't have the handles or the
Yeah.
ability to jump over people. He just doesn't have it. And his best position is a 3-and-D guy.
Mhm.
Therefore, I think, in my opinion, he'll be the most likely to be moved because he'll have the highest value and also be
Mhm.
the guy least likely to want to re-sign with the team. But I do agree on your Gary Trent point as well. So it all depends on how we do and what our record is as well. So
Yeah.
it's kind of forecasting, but
Mhm.
there are going to be players really happy in this offense, and there's going to be players unhappy in this offense. And I think that's by design,
Mhm.
by the
Yep.
management and this hire. So we shall see how that works out. Um,
Mhm.
so that is my all my questions. That is our show. I'd like to thank
Mhm.
JD for coming on. I love having him on. I hope to have him throughout the season when something happens. If Grady goes down to the 905, I will definitely have him on because I'm going to want reports from him. So that's a for sure.
Yeah,
Hopefully
you
he
know how to
doesn't.
reach me. Like
Yeah,
you know how to
yeah.
reach me. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. If he goes down there, JD's going to be the first guy I contact because I'm going to want reports. I might even
Yep.
go see a game in the
Mhm.
905 if he's down there. So that'll be interesting to progress. But as JD said, with the amount of injuries I expect us to have, I think Grady's going to be fine. Precious has already missed games in the preseason. Otto's not going to play a full season. Um, Boucher's been hurt and maybe moved, so I'm not worried about Grady. But it might be tough sledding early. And then
Yeah.
later on in the season, you're going to see him get 20 minutes a game, I think. So we shall see.
Mhm.
If he starts off hot, then they may have no choice but to play him. So
Yeah. It's what happened to
we'll
OG,
see.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So this is what I'll say about this season. It's a very exciting, more exciting season this year than it was last year. I
Mhm.
wasn't looking forward to last year, and I was proven right. This year, I have more to look forward to because there's more to watch and more to see. New coach, better bench, players on 1-year
Mhm.
deals, great rookie. Like there's a lot of variables here, so it will be fun to watch each and every game. So, um, yeah. So I thank you, JD. I will definitely be talking to you soon and
Mhm.
having you on the show again. Any last thoughts before we go?
I guess, like just enjoy the season. Like don't get too
Yes.
obsessed about making the playoffs. like keep in mind this is a developmental season, right?
Yeah.
Like we're putting things together, so like enjoy.
Yeah, I'm not sure Masai looks at it that way, but yes, I do agree that there's a lot of players that need to develop, and this
Yeah,
system should really help, and the coach
it's
should
not a
really help.
rebuilding season, but it's a
Yeah,
developmental season. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, that's why they hired Darko. Darko's a development
Mhm.
coach. He helped in
Yeah.
OKC. He helped in Memphis. If you look at his history, he really helped the Memphis bench, and that's why he was brought here. So if he can
Hmm.
make that kind of impact on our bench, then we could have a surprising season like Memphis did when he was there,
Yeah.
or like OKC did when Schroeder averaged 20 points a game, his best season ever in OKC. So there is hope and optimism from that respect, but let's not get ahead of ourselves despite the
Hmm.
great preseason.
Yeah.
So that's our show. Thank you guys for watching. I'm the mouth of North Andrew East, and that's JD. We'll see you next time on the Reese Report.